Hi, my name is Bruce Clifton. I'm the founder and executive director of Autumn Sun, and today I'm here to talk about the 2024 HBCU Film Invitational Festival in Detroit, August 23rd and 24th. Back in 2018, I was visiting Greensboro, and I went up to North Carolina A&T to do some work in the Office of Advancement because I wanted to give back. And while I'm doing some, and this is like for a completely separate project, but while I'm filling out the paperwork for that, the woman in advancement asked me, well, what do you do for a living? And at that time, I was in my 6th year as a producer for a documentary company called Defining Entertainment out of Baltimore. And she says, you know what? We don't have the infrastructure at this time to, have any kind of like filmmaking program within our curriculum, but we love to work with you to kind of building kind of like an initiative that the kids can participate in, because we definitely believe there's a culture here that can be stimulated by that. And the one thing I noticed is that, I have not seen any platform or program when it comes to a festival format that focuses specifically on the works of the students. I've seen festivals schools put on where they bring in industry types to kind of talk to them, do their whole little workshop stuff like that. But like, what are we actually doing to stimulate them to actually go out there and create and showcase their work? So let's do a festival where we'll ask for submissions, we'll show the top films, give away a prize, and something I think the kids can be engaged with and actually have fun interacting with. And during that process, we were A&T was kind of like, particularly my guy, Edwin Amoy, over at the JOMC department at A&T. He was my point person that I was placed with, who kind of really helped me develop this from 2018 to 2020. And then during that time, we were planning to say, we're going to launch in fall of 2020. We're going to start at A&T and build off from there. And then, of course, COVID happens. So we went idle a little bit, but during that 2-year process of we got a couple of partners involved, and then we were able to do our first virtual award show in spring of 2022, and that was that was a great time to do that. And now here we are focusing on our first in-person festival here in Detroit, partnering with the city of Detroit, Michigan Central, a couple other organizations, including Ally Financial and the Skillman Foundation, and having our first introductory program, and be able to actually get these students face to face with an audience, and working with our network partner HBCU Go to make sure it's accessible to the nation. So it's been an exciting time.
I also went to an HBCU.
Ah,
I went to Morgan, and you said
yeah.
Baltimore, so I was like, we already got that connection. Financially, people have different aspects, whether life constraints, financial constraints, whatever the case may be. So I understand the importance of giving back, um,
Mhm.
specifically to HBCU students. So from your perspective, why was it important to specify this festival just strictly for the HBCU students?
Well, I think it started because that's where the question was asked. It was like, had it been asked by a film collective out in Philadelphia, maybe I would build off from there and still kept it open for everybody. But when she asked me that question, I'm like, cool, I'm focusing just on these students across the country who are in this environment. Because at the time, 2018, you know, HBCUs, like the alumni had the pride, but it seemed like they kind of left the rest of the group had kind of like left them behind. Like I said, and it was just one situations where like it wasn't like the hot ticket at the time, and then obviously 2020 happened. But I could see the beauty, like, bro, these students have so much enthusiasm. They just want opportunities. So it made sense to say, cool, we'll focus on this, and maybe I'll build out in the future, stuff like that. But I want to get to a place where when we create platforms and showcase the creativity on these campuses and the enthusiasm on the campuses, that I believe every HBCU, no matter the size, can be a communications powerhouse, just like Howard is. Howard has the history behind it, and and it's something that we definitely celebrate. But there's no reason that we can have the same kind of foundation at Alabama A&M or Southern University, like places that are historically not known for their media for their communications programming. So my way was, let's figure out my way to how kind of level the field. Hey, everybody can get in. It doesn't matter. You can make films about whatever you want to make. The biggest thing is that we don't do like film restrictions. Like I say, we're not a classroom. You guys are young adults. Make what you want to make, how you want to make it, and for whoever you think you're making it for. And all we're gonna do is just critique it based off, our own individual. When we talk about jury selection, every juror is different. We all look for different things. So the biggest thing is I want to instill the confidence in these students. Say, hey, look, we want you to go out there and create something, and therefore, whether or not you get selected or not, you can say, you know what, I stand behind every creative decision I made on this project, and I can start building off. I can start building off from there, and you will get better over time, because that's what experience can do for you. So it came from me just wanting to figure out how I can actually connect, help these communications departments actually build up their curriculum and get, and obviously something that can increase enrollment down the line. We say, hey, if we got more funding, maybe we can get. I think I was talking with a Alabama A&M, Dr. Peter Ely over their communications department. He said, I eventually want to get to a place where maybe I can have a filmmaker in residence at A&M every year and things like that, where like, those black students who go to NYU or USC, and I was talking about like they feel like they're one of the only people in the classroom. Hey, look, if I can go to Jackson State and get the same opportunities, then we should make sure we create that opportunity for them. So helping them expand that, helping them increase their enrollment and opportunities they can provide to any student who wants to kind of pursue any path, of course, but also more importantly, make sure these students are networking with each other, especially as we're moving towards in the industry. We're in this weird place where, and I know it's a long question, you might jump over what you want to do, but we're in this very weird place where post-strike, because I think most people forget we went through a historic strike last year, and in terms of how we're approaching the filmmaking space, that it's never been a more and more important time to really kind of explore independent filmmaking, ownership, figuring out how to put your resources together. And that's something I want these students to actually feel like, hey, look, when we put you in these rooms, we're showcasing these films, cool, somebody can win an award, but who are you talking to? Whose context are you getting? Because your network is your net worth. And if you guys get to the point where you can pull your resources together and create your own projects, you see places like Kev on Stage and things like that, where they've now had these followings where they can do these projects, people are loving these projects, is that I want them to have those same type of resources and access. So it's a very interesting time now. This wasn't why I created in the first place, but now it's like, since things have happened since that time, like, cool, let it be a tool that people actually know how to network and kind of build their own foundation for themselves outside of, simply like the gates of Hollywood. So, there are a lot of hopes where I can actually help increase the reach of these universities and these colleges, but more importantly, just what it can do for the students individually and helping them create access for themselves. That is probably the most valuable part of what I'm hoping that we're doing.
You had mentioned like the jury process, like people standing behind their projects, So are you able to share any insight into that selection process for this festival? Things that maybe you or the panel was looking for, even though, like you did say, like everybody's different, but was there a certain main criteria maybe that things needed to happen?
I think when you talk about younger filmmakers, aggression is something that's definitely looked at as like, okay, cool. Oh, this is kind of like something you wouldn't see a normal 19-year-old make, and it could be whether it's, for me, I like pushing the envelope. I'm at filmmakers like what makes people uncomfortable. Let's discuss that, because I'm a political guy. So hey, look, we're going to talk about the third rail. We're going to talk about life. Let's really get into it. And it's a very uncomfortable conversation. So when we had one film in this 25 where like it was a bunch of disturbing images, and the thing, when you're quantifying art, it's not about whether it's good or bad. Does it leave an impact? Am I thinking about it afterwards? And it's like, wait, cool. If I was a jury, and I'm not on the jury, but if I was a jury and I saw something that says, hey, look, I may have thought it was great, but it definitely left an impact. Maybe that should be under consideration. That's what we're looking at. So I think the biggest thing is we always, that's why we always apply this kids. Hey, look, you be as aggressive or conservative as you want, but make sure you're making what you want to make. Take creative risk, and don't be worried about failing. It's like saying, if you fail this, guess what? You're still getting your degree. You're not gonna stop. You're not gonna lose out on anything. But you learn from that. As for what individual, funny thing is our jury is very eclectic. I have somebody who works VFX, like I said, once she works in animation. I have somebody who's a critic. I have somebody who is a documentary filmmaker. So it's like, they all look at different things differently. So it's hard to quantify that, but it's simple thing for us to say, hey, look, submit your films through the Film Freeway. We had over 100 submissions and kind of battle them out from there. And then after you get to that top 25, now comes out like, cool. What we think is, then you're looking at technical aspects. What were the things that we liked that we didn't like? Was it audio? Was it the positioning of the cinematography, things like that? Then also like the editing. Then you talk about, okay, cool. What about the performances of the actors, who are on screen, as well as you talk about oh, I just forgot it, but like, so you talk about in terms of like actual direction. Hey, what do you like this, how this student was directing this film? That's where they really get into it in the top 25. And it gets a lot more uh a lot more competitive. But in terms of like that open process, it's actually not say lax, but we're very open, and we're very receptive to experiencing different things, because we want to make sure that we showcase the best, but also make sure that best has a variety of genres within it. which has been made so far has been pretty easy for us. So hopefully, as we continue to grow and get more submissions each year, it'll get harder. We have to figure out how to separate these things. But I think what we look for, that's subjective. And my biggest thing I tell artists, and I once had a student when I was at A&T ask me if they'll look at something and kind of give them their thoughts. I'm like, why? Do you like it? Okay, then. Like you said, what does it matter? Like M. Night Shyamalan doesn't care if you guys get pissed off the fact that he keeps having these gotcha moments every film, because that's what he does. He's gonna do that. Michael Bay doesn't care that he's just gonna blow stuff up and with no story at all, because he knows that people out there are gonna buy it. So I want to say, hey, look, make the film that you want to make and how you want to make it, and we're just here to help. We're just here to help you find the audience.
You're not wrong. There's definitely audience for everything. um, but for you being a Detroit native, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your time like in the city, and like what made you want to bring the inaugural festival there?
What is it's politically complicated. You're like, "Wait, cool," because like before I made the decision to take to Detroit, I did explore other options. Like it was internal. It was like, but if I do it here, how can I justify that instead of like doing it somewhere else? And Detroit's like, well, no, I'm from here. I know the city. I know the culture, and I believe that, I think as we talk about Detroit's been in the headlines a lot this year. There's the NFL draft, stuff like that. I said, you know what? We need big Black events in this city. I want to make sure I can build something for my city, and also make sure that it's also at the same time becoming a foundation for that next generation of Black artists. So it was something that was able to blend the two. It just happened to work out that way. And then luckily the city got involved, and you got a couple other organizations got involved. So, I think for me, it was more so like a love letter to my home. Say, hey, look, I want to turn my home to the foundation for like the next generation of filmmakers and creators in general, and be like an annual event where people can fly to the city and just be amongst, be amongst Black art and just celebrate blackness and blackness across the board. So that was what I wanted it to be. In terms of like my time growing up here, I'm proud to be from the city. The city has a grit that I don't find many other places. You talking about a city that was left behind and left for dead for, we had to go through bankruptcy and things like that. Now we're on the come up. Now we're hosting NFL drafts. Now, as the political world, so now we're the focus of, one of the battleground states, things like that. So, seeing where we've been and how we're coming from, it just kind of talks about resilience. And there's all kind of another reason why I say, I think that when you talk about Black art or just Black people in general, our entire existence is resilience. So like just having a Black festival here in Detroit, it just blend the narrative is already matched. Next year, we'll continue to expand on the HBCU Invitational. My hope is to be able to have 50 finalists at some point, maybe next year or 2026. But we'll also be inviting the top 25 short films from Black filmmakers 18 to 30 across the country. So having 50 films here next year where we get the chance to come up and find the next big filmmakers. I want this to be like something like, you know, I want it to be an arts conference where we come together and we're not just crowning the best filmmakers, but also get people, hey, look, we're talking about ideas like what's the next generation of Black art look like? How we actually make sure we're putting together resources that everybody can kind of like find ways to thrive and be successful. So, I'm hoping it turns into that, and also explore other avenues of creativity, be it the beauty industry, the culinary arts, dance, things like that. We want to be able to expand on all those things over the next 10 years. So, my hope is that, I can turn this festival into like an international port city for artists.